Hi, my name's Sarah Hawkins, and I'm the Positive Behavioural Support Strategy Coordinator for the Learning Disability and Forensics SBE. And the aim of this video is to tell you a little bit about the PBS strategy project. The Positive Behavioural Support, or PBS for short, is a well-established framework in our specialist learning disability services in HPFT. It's basically an evidence-based approach for providing support to individuals and networks of care where there's a risk of behaviour being displayed that can be challenging to understand and to support effectively. PBS has got a system-wide focus with a significant emphasis on ensuring that people are being supported in what we term to be capable environments, so those that are in tune with best practice ways to meet people's needs. Within PBS, the core ethos is on using person-centred approaches to improve the quality of life of individuals and their carers. And PBS provides a framework for assessment and formulation that encourages working very collaboratively with people to build a shared understanding about what's important to them, what they find difficult to navigate or communicate through their day-to-day lives, but particularly at times when feeling worried or upset, and finding out what the meaning might be behind certain behaviours that might be displayed at some of these times. PBS intervention has a long-term and proactive focus, which is firmly based on this very person-centred and individualised understanding. And it can include lots of different things. So, for example, it could include making very broad changes to the characteristics of people's care and support systems and settings so that they better meet their needs. For example, improving knowledge and skills of carers, or perhaps increasing levels of meaningful activity and engagement in a setting. It can also include specific strategies or approaches that help to minimise the occurrence or impact of known situations that an individual finds difficult to cope with, strategies that meet a person's needs effectively as part of everyday care and support, such as around communication or sensory needs, occupation, physical and mental health needs. Also, though, including very crucially supporting the development of new skills of independence, new ways to support the communication of needs, and increase skills in coping with situations that perhaps a person finds difficult. PBS is very holistic, and although focuses very heavily on being proactive to reduce the need for behaviours that challenge, it also recognises and incorporates the importance of strategies that a person can use themselves or for others to use to support calming if beginning to struggle with a situation, and also the need for strategies to respond safely to certain behaviours if they do occur in order to minimise the risks. It's my role to coordinate the development of a PBS strategy to guide the future focused direction and development of positive behavioural support within the learning disability and forensic SBE. The core scope of the PBS strategy work is HPFT's specialist learning disability services, community, inpatient, and forensic across Hertfordshire, Buckinghamshire, Norfolk, and Essex. And the project aims to outline the SBU's aims and aspirations for PBS over the next few years with clear implementation plans and guidance. PBS is viewed as a central approach in our learning disability services and is a core aspect of policy and commissioning expectations. And the project was originally initiated through a desire to look much more closely at how we can improve the PBS services that we provide across the SBE. There is a recognition that there's a lot of great work in relation to PBS that's happening across the four geographical areas, and that there might be some untapped opportunities for sharing some of that good practice more widely, but also an acknowledgement from the outset that it's important to highlight any gaps in what's being provided and to understand any challenges or barriers that might be being encountered to providing good PBS in practice, and identify any areas where further development might be important. So the strategy work is a fantastic opportunity to look at PBS across our services in all four areas, which is something that's never been done before. So the PBS strategy development work is currently set as an 18-month project, which commenced in April of this year. So there's still quite a way to go. The methodology of the project is guided by four underlying drivers, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of these. They're not in any particular order. So the first driver is the need to map and describe what's currently happening internally to HPFT in relation to PBS across the LD and F SBU. So understanding how the PBS approach looks now in each county, type of service and team has been the main task I've been engaged with over these past few months. It's been absolutely wonderful having the opportunity to visit service areas and meet lots of people along the way. And I've been able to have many interesting conversations and look at numerous helpful documents and resources that I've been sent to help to build up this understanding. In essence, this information is our PBS strategy baseline or our starting point. The second driver for the methodology of the project is a real genuine desire to find out what people want and what is important to people. So scoping the views of a wide range of people about what needs to be part of the PBS strategy and what outcomes and developments our services should focus on is a central part of the project methodology. The project's aiming to harness the views and ideas of as many people who would like to be involved as possible to co-produce the direction and the contents of the strategy. So that includes service users, carers, service providers, our own staff, commissioners and our partner organisations. So far, there's been a good start on starting to pull together an overview of what those I've been speaking to within the SBU feel are the key priorities that a PBS strategy should focus on. But the planning work for a much broader consultation stage has just started. So it's going to be really exciting getting going on that. And we're in the process of setting up some working groups of people with learning disabilities and carers to help to shape what the consultation phase will look like. The third project driver is the importance of taking account of direction and advice from policy and best practice guidance and examples, professional guidelines and the PBS literature in the development of the strategy. But alongside this, to also try and find out what's happening in other areas of the UK in terms of the organisation and the delivery of PBS approach. So a really good start's been made on linking with other areas and looking at good practice examples of service-wide PBS implementation. And we've also been starting to get a better understanding of some of the national themes in PBS development and service gaps and challenges via linking into various national networks. So the final driver for me to mention relates to the fact that in each county, the SBU delivers services in. There are different commissioning arrangements for providing services to people with a learning disability and their systems of support. So HPFT aren't the only care providers using a PBS approach, and a central component of the strategy work involves the aim to try to work in collaboration with our local authority and NHS partners in each area to look at some shared ways to improve PBS in practice. So the hope is that we're going to end up with a co-produced strategy document that presents a shared vision of what our specialist learning disability services should be focusing on now and in the future, and how that interfaces with the wider systems and partners we operate in and with. I hope the strategy is going to provide an important opportunity for our HPFT staff to highlight and celebrate what's working well and what's been achieved so far in terms of embedding PBS in practice, and that this will be represented well in an end document. But also I hope that realistic and helpful solutions can be found to any identified challenges or barriers that people are currently facing. Although this is a piece of project work that's currently being undertaken within one SBU, we hope that its outcomes are going to be useful to other areas of the Trust. PBS has got a core set of values and principles at its heart, many of which have overlaps with some of the other key approaches that are being adopted within the Trust. And a real hope is that the project work will help to raise an understanding about how all of these different frameworks and models and approaches are linked, which should then really help with implementation in practice. As I've mentioned already, while the background scoping work internally and across the UK is continuing, the next step is to plan the consultation stage of the project. So, the hope is to be able to spread information about how to get involved in giving feedback and sharing thoughts and ideas very soon. So, watch this space.